Good afternoon, friends. This is a rather sudden and unplanned Word of God spirit contact. It's about 5:30 in the afternoon, April the 25th, 2017, and I just noticed maybe half an hour ago on Facebook, checking messages and actually uploading a photo, that the daughter of a friend of mine, Roger Pearce, has announced that he passed last night after what I imagine was months of struggling with a weakening condition due to cancer, I believe. Now, I knew Roger as a young man. We worked together at a place of employment in the 1970s, and saw each other a little bit after that. Then he moved up north, and I stayed down south, and we lost contact. But Facebook, being the wonderful thing that it is, brought us back together again. Roger contacted me after I posted an essay on my blog and Facebook about contacting our mutual friend Dave Porter, who passed from cancer of the blood maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And he was intrigued with my contact with David, and he was obviously interested in the subject, and we exchanged ideas and thoughts on it. And in the interim, I saw some of his artwork linked to various sites online and was impressed. He'd been a fine artist even as a young man, and pursuing a sort of a surrealism that I don't think was particularly trendy at the time, but I really liked it. And I'm sure he's explored many avenues, judging from the few things that I've seen online, including a very fine sort of realistic portrait of a young girl, I think, which sort of thing he wouldn't have done years ago. But anyway, obviously a lifelong committed artist. And also he mentioned when he let it be known that he was suffering and weakening fairly rapidly and would be transitioning fairly soon. And I responded with surprise, as I didn't know. He said, speaking of my mediumship work, that perhaps we'd continue, contacting after he passed. And he sounded quite serious about it at the time. People say these things and they don't always mean them because they don't quite know what it entails. But it seems as though he is, because shortly after reading the Facebook post, and I must say I'm quite tired from gardening for the last hour, you're sort of lugging things about and digging things up, moving great piles of junk from one place to another. And so I came into the house thinking maybe I'd have a little nap before having a go at my tax form later this evening, as all Canadians are sweating about this week. And so when I sat down and I tried to contact him, because I felt that it was the time, after reading the Facebook post, he was close by and said that yes, he was wanting to chit chat, and we exchanged a few thoughts and greetings. And I said, Roger, do you want me to put this on Facebook? And he thought about it for a minute and said, yeah, okay, let's do it. I think he was initially just thinking it would be fun to chat with because I'd be open to it, and not everybody is. And but no, he was interested in chatting live, as it were, here. I mean, it's not live to YouTube and Facebook, but it will be fairly soon. And I suggested that we, just get right at it. And maybe he was surprised by that. He's saying, yes, I was surprised. So I told him I was just made aware of this through the Facebook posts, and he said that I'd seen him last night when I was out of body, and physically asleep. And I said, "Oh yeah, well, that happens." He was surprised that I was surprised, and I pointed out to him, as I did when our friend David passed a few years ago, that mediums and out of body travelers, we do a lot of things at night that we don't remember in the next physical day, or we may have such vague memories of them that we're not quite we're think, oh yeah, it probably happened, but did it really? And it can be quite overwhelming if you're active out of body at night to remember it all the next day. And I've put some of that into several books, but you can't be focused on that all the time, else your life goes to shambles in no time. You can't focus on anything. Um, so I just reminded him of all that and apologized for not remembering. And you know, he was talking about how exciting it was to be out of body. And with that, I'll try to go to something like a live transmission now. So, Roger, to sort of, you know, take go back to where we left off a few moments ago, you were saying how exciting it was to be out of body, and I'm sure you want to say more about that, don't you? And he's saying, yes, tremendous, tremendous, wonderful to be free of an ailing, weakened physical frame, something he'd been living inside for many months and feeling, despite the drugs, not terribly good. And the liberation is just unbelievable, he says. Much more exciting than he would have believed had he heard, well, he did hear about it, from others and reading before. And just amazing, he says, flying all over the place, which he started to do and then felt so comfortable doing it, realized he'd been doing it on and off for a few months, or at least maybe a few weeks, he's not quite sure, while he was asleep or, passed out at one stage or another, including his, out of body experience that he mentioned on Facebook a few, I guess, a few weeks ago. And he just, and I should also say, Roger, just give me a moment here. I did sense his presence 2 or 3 times in the last, I'd say 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. He'd seemed to be floating by. And I thought, oh, he's out of body. He's enjoying this, isn't he? I didn't consciously communicate with him, but I just felt his presence. And but as I know from the talks and books of other out of body astral projectors and teachers, that many of us can be vaguely aware of a spirit as we go about our daily business or just sitting. But that can also mean that part of us, an extended part of us, is actually projected and communicating quite consciously with that spirit, because we project various parts of ourselves out there without actually knowing it most of the time, including people like me. So anyway, Roger, I just wanted to get that in, that I had sensed your presence. And he said, yeah, I knew that. Of course, why wouldn't you? So what else would you like to say to your friends and loved ones, Roger? He says, it's all worth waiting for. It's amazing. Don't ever doubt that it's anything less than incredible and amazing, because it isn't. It's not just nice. It's not just lovely. It's exhilarating beyond measure. What's he saying? Better than a swim in your favorite lake on a sunny afternoon. Better than a walk through the woods in any kind of your favorite weather. Better than standing on a high hill watching the sunrise or the sunset. Okay, Roger, I think we get it. At least I do. Better than almost any excitement or exhilaration, even being in love, or being joyful with one's young children, babies, and all that sort of a thing, he's saying. It's just so transcendent. So I said, I'm saying to him now, Roger, do you think you'd be like to be painting some of this fairly soon? he's, he's saying, well, yeah, maybe later, but not right now. He's way too excited. And he sounds like he's been flying all over the place. Have you, Roger? Oh, yeah. He says, I've been out to, where's he been? I've been out to the Rockies. I've been up to the Arctic. I've been, where else? Let me just think. Uh, he thinks it was out to the Atlantic as well, but he's had so many exciting experiences. He's wondering if he was that another time or did you just do that recently? Um, and he's made a very quick visit to his mother, who I did know myself, and who passed on some years ago. And he's communicating that she's settled and happy in her new home. He he says he just made a flying visit and, hugged her and kissed her and assured her that he was just fine, and then had to keep going. He was just too excited. And he says he hopes she understands. I think she does. The people who are long past, or past for a few years, they can sometimes recognize the initial excitement of the newbie, and are willing to put up with it. What else? He hasn't seen any spirit guides yet, and okay, Roger. I know where that is. You're just whizzing about. They're following behind you. They don't need to guide you anywhere. You're guiding yourself. Okay, he's accepting that. And I should mention to a lot of you, spirit guides they'll help if you need help, but they won't get in your way if you're busy doing stuff. They'll let you be until you need a hand with something or other. So, Roger, anything else you'd like to say? Well, he's saying it's. He says despite himself, he's thinking of that sentimental old song, "What a Wonderful World," and he says it's even more wonderful here, and he can't wait to visit all the musicians and artists that he loved while living on Earth, and seeking them out and enjoying their company now. And I feel like telling him to calm down and take it easy, but I don't think it's going to do any good. Roger, you remind me of when I contacted Dennis Hopper. His energy was, I'd say, even more intense than yours, and he'd been dead a little while. When I was talking to Dennis Hopper a few years ago, he left me just exhausted. His energy was so intense, and Roger's pretty close to there. And he wants to thank those friends, you know who you are, he says, and family, who devotedly and carefully and lovingly looked after him in his last days and weeks. He will not ever forget that. And a special wave and hello to you guys, you ladies. Thank you, thank you. And he will wait your appearance in the other world with great patience. No need to panic. He's not predicting anything. So Roger, shall I let you go with this fond farewell to all your friends and loved ones? Yes, he says, and he's telling me to wave at you all. That wave's from Roger. It's not from me. I'm just doing what I'm told. Love you guys, he's saying. Love you guys. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'm having a blast. Thanks, Roger. I enjoyed this. Thanks for forcing me to do this between the gardening and the tax form. I needed a kick in the boot. A kick in the boot. Listen to me, a boot in the ass. That's what I really mean to say. Anyway, a joyful partial reunion with Roger Pearce for all you friends and loved ones. And I thank you for watching and listening. And love to you all.